The wind howled like a wild beast around the small research station. Dr. Kim Tae-ho pressed his face against the thick glass window and watched the storm tear across the mountain valley. Lightning flashed in strange colors: purple, green, and bright orange. This was not like Earth storms. This was something different. Tae-ho had been alone at the station for 3 months now. He was studying the plants and animals on this new world called Kepler 4042c. The planet was far from Earth, but it had air to breathe and water to drink. Many humans had come here to build new homes. The storm had started 2 days ago. First, it was just strong wind and rain. Then the lightning began. The strange lightning made all his machines stop working. His radio was dead. His computer would not turn on. Even his simple phone had no power. Tae-ho was not afraid of being alone. He had food for many weeks. He had warm clothes and a strong building to keep him safe. But he was worried about his work. He had important samples in his lab. Some were alive and needed special care. He walked around the station, checking everything. The walls were thick metal and stone. They could handle the storm. The roof was strong, too, but the power was getting weak. The backup batteries would not last much longer. Tae-ho went to his storage room. He moved his most important samples to a special cold box that worked without electricity. The box used special chemicals to stay cold. It would keep his samples safe for many days. As he worked, the storm got worse. The wind made the whole building shake. Rain hit the windows so hard it sounded like rocks. The strange lightning made loud cracks in the sky. Each flash lit up the valley in weird colors. Tae-ho had seen many storms in his life. He grew up in Korea, where big storms came from the ocean. He had lived in Antarctica, where the wind could freeze a man in minutes. But this storm was different. It felt alive. It felt angry. He made some hot tea and sat at his desk. He tried to read a book, but the storm was too loud. He tried to write in his journal, but his hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from the vibrations in the building. Then he heard something new. It was not the wind. It was not the thunder. It was a sound like nothing he had ever heard before. It was deep and loud and full of pain. It came from somewhere outside in the storm. Tae-ho put down his tea and listened carefully. The sound came again. It was like a roar, but also like a cry for help. It made him think of a whale song, but much louder and more desperate. He went to the window again. The storm was so thick he could barely see anything. Lightning flashed, and for just a moment he saw something moving in the sky. Something big, something that was not a cloud. The roar came again, closer this time. Then there was a loud crash that shook the ground. His teacup fell off the desk and broke on the floor. The lights flickered and went out. Tae-ho turned on his emergency flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness in his station, but outside was still black, except for the lightning. He went to his equipment room and got his weather suit. It was thick and waterproof and would protect him from the strange lightning. He knew he should stay inside. That was the safe thing to do. But the sound he heard was a sound of something in trouble, something that needed help. Tae-ho had always been the kind of person who helped others. When he was a boy, he found hurt birds and took care of them. When he was in university, he helped other students with their work. When he became a scientist, he studied life so he could help protect it. He put on his suit and checked all the seals. He took his flashlight and an emergency radio that might work. Better outside. He also took his medical kit. If something was hurt out there, he might be able to help. The roar came again, weaker this time. It was definitely coming from the valley below the station. Tae-ho made his decision. He would go out and see what was making that sound. He opened. The door and the storm hit him like a wall. The wind was so strong it almost knocked him down. The rain felt like tiny hammers hitting his suit. The air smelled like electricity and something else. something he could not identify. Tae-ho stepped out into the storm. Each step was hard work. The wind pushed him one way, then another. Lightning flashed all around him, making everything look like a crazy dream. He followed the path down from the station toward the valley. The path was slippery with rain and mud. Twice he almost fell, but he kept going toward where he heard the crash. The roar came again. This time it was definitely weaker. Whatever made that sound was getting tired, or getting worse. Tae-ho reached the edge of the valley and looked down. Lightning flashed, and he saw something that made him stop breathing for a moment. There was something huge lying in the mud at the bottom of the valley. It was not a machine. It was not a rock. It was something alive. The thing was bigger than his research station. It had a long body like a snake, but thicker. It had wings, but they were torn and twisted. In the lightning flashes, he could see that it was covered in what looked like scales, but these scales seemed to glow with their own light. As Tae-ho watched, the creature lifted its head. Even in the storm, even from far away, he could see that the head was shaped like no animal from Earth. It was long and elegant, with a face that looked almost like it could think. The creature saw him too. Their eyes met across the stormy valley. For a moment, neither moved. Then the creature made that roaring sound again, but this time it sounded different. It sounded like it was trying to talk. Tae-ho realized he was looking at something incredible, something that should not exist, something from another world entirely. And it was hurt. He started down into the valley toward the impossible creature that had fallen from the sky. The mud was deep and slippery as Tae-ho made his way down into the valley. Every step was careful and slow. The storm still raged around him, but his eyes were fixed on the huge creature below. As he got closer, he could see more details. The creature was even bigger than he first thought. It was longer than 3 buses put together. Its body was covered in scales that looked like crystal. Even in the storm, the scales caught the lightning and made soft, beautiful colors. The creature had 4 legs, each one thick and strong. Its wings were spread out on the ground, and Tae-ho could see they were damaged. There were tears in the thin skin between the wing bones. Dark liquid that might be blood was mixing with the rain. The head was the most amazing part. It was large but graceful, with a long neck like a swan. But this was no swan. The face was intelligent. The eyes were large and bright like jewels. They watched Tae-ho as he came closer. When Tae-ho was about 50 meters away, the creature tried to stand up. It pushed with its strong legs, but something was wrong. It fell back down with a sound of pain that cut through the storm noise. The creature's breathing was loud and difficult. Tae-ho could hear wheezing sounds coming from its throat. Tae-ho stopped moving. He did not want to scare the creature more. He could see it was already afraid. Its eyes were wide, and its head moved back and forth, looking for escape routes. Slowly, Tae-ho sat down in the mud. He made himself smaller and less threatening. He put his hands where the creature could see, them with his palms open. This was how he approached scared animals back on Earth. The creature watched him carefully. Its breathing was getting worse. Tae-ho could see that some of the scales along its neck were moving in and out. These must be how it breathed. But the movement looked wrong, like the creature could not get enough air. Tae-ho reached for his emergency radio. Maybe his translation device would work, even if the main radio was broken. He turned it on and was surprised to hear a soft beeping sound. Some of the circuits were still working. He spoke into the device slowly and clearly. "Hello. I want to help you. I am a friend." The radio made electronic sounds as it tried to translate his words. Then it spoke in a voice that was not quite human and not quite machine. The creature's head moved when it heard the strange words. The creature opened its mouth and made a sound. It was not a roar this time. It was softer, more musical. The radio picked up the sound and tried to translate it. After a moment, words came out. Pain. Skyfire. cannot breathe. Teho felt his heart beat faster. The creature was trying to talk to him. It was intelligent. It could communicate. He spoke to the radio again. I am Teho. I am a healer of living things. Where does it hurt? The creature listened to the translation. Then it lowered its great head and touched its neck with the tip of its nose. It made the musical sound again. The radio said, "Here, inside, burning. Air will not come." Teho understood. The creature had some kind of breathing problem. Maybe it was sick. Maybe it was injured inside where he could not see. He stood up slowly and took a few steps closer. The creature watched him but did not try to move away. Teho could see trust beginning in those jewel-like eyes. "My name is Veltar," the radio translated as the creature made more musical sounds. "I am far from home. My sky ship is gone. I am Teho," he said again. "Veltar is a good name. Can I come closer? I want to see if I can help you breathe better." Veltar made a long, low sound. The radio said, "You are small creature, but your thoughts feel warm. Yes, come." Teho walked slowly toward Veltar's head. The creature was even more beautiful, up close. The crystal scales were not just one color. They had rainbow colors that moved and changed. The eyes were deep blue, like the ocean on a clear day. But Teho could see that Veltar was very sick. The breathing holes along the neck were swollen and red. When Veltar breathed out, there was a whistling sound that meant the airways were blocked. Teho had studied many different kinds of animals. He had seen breathing problems in mammals, birds, and reptiles. The symptoms were always similar, even in different species. "Veltar, this looks like an infection," Teho said. "Something is making your breathing tubes swollen. It is like a sickness we have on my world." Veltar's eyes became brighter. "You have seen this before? In your kind?" "Not in my kind exactly, but in other living things. We have medicine that can help." "Medicine?" The word came out strange. When the radio translated it back to Veltar's musical language, yes, special things that fight sickness, that make swelling go down, that help the body heal itself. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. The only sounds were the storm and the difficult breathing. Then the creature spoke again. "My people, we have traveled far, seeking others who think and feel. We have found many kinds of life, but few have offered help to strangers." Teho felt something important in those words. This was not just about helping one sick creature. This was about what kind of people humans were, what they would do when they met something different and in need. "Where I come from," Teho said, "we believe that all thinking beings deserve help when they are suffering. It does not matter if they look different from us." Veltar made a sound that the radio could not translate, but somehow Teho knew it. Was good. Maybe it was like a laugh, or like a sigh of relief. "I will try to help you," Teho said, "but I need to go back to my place and get the medicine. Will you wait here?" "I cannot fly," Veltar said. "I cannot walk far. I will wait. But the storm." "The storm will end," Teho said, "and I will come back. I promise." He reached out slowly and touched one of Veltar's large scales. It was warm and smooth, like polished stone. Veltar did not pull away. "Thank you." "Teho of the small but warm thoughts," Veltar said. Teho smiled, even though he knew Veltar might not understand the expression. Then he turned and began the difficult climb back up to his station. He had medicine to find and a promise to keep. Teho climbed back up to his station as fast as he could. The storm was still strong, but it seemed a little weaker than before. He was thinking hard about what he had seen. Veltar's breathing problem looked like infections he had studied in. Earth animals. Inside his station, Tejo went straight to his medical supplies. He had medicine for humans, of course, but he also had veterinary supplies for studying sick animals. He looked through bottles and packages, reading labels carefully. The problem was that Veltar was not from Earth. Veltar's body might work completely differently. Medicine that helped Earth creatures might do nothing for Veltar. Or worse, it might hurt the alien. But as Tejo thought about it, something seemed universal. Breathing was breathing. Swelling was swelling. Infection was infection. The basic problems of life might be the same everywhere. He found what he was looking for in a small cabinet. It was a bottle of simple cold medicine that his grandmother had sent him from Korea. She always worried that he would get sick in strange places. The bottle had a picture of a child on it and words in Korean that said, "for cough and congestion." Tejo looked at the ingredients. It was nothing fancy, just basic things to reduce swelling, thin mucus, and make breathing easier. The same kind of medicine people had used for hundreds of years. He thought about the dose. Veltar was much bigger than a human, but alien body chemistry might be very different. Too much medicine could be dangerous. Too little would not help. Tejo decided to be very careful. He would start with a small amount and see what happened. He could always give more later. He put the medicine bottle in his bag along with some measuring tools. He also took his medical scanner, even though it was made for human bodies. Maybe it would show something useful. Before he left, Tejo wrote a quick note and left it on his desk. If something happened to him, maybe someone would find it someday. The note said, "I met an intelligent alien named Veltar. It was sick, and I tried to help. If this medicine worked, it proves that life everywhere has some things in common." The storm was definitely getting weaker when Tejo went outside again. The lightning was less frequent, and the wind did not push him around as much. But the rain was still heavy and the path was still slippery. When he reached the valley, he could see Veltar had not moved. The great creature was lying in the same place, breathing with obvious difficulty. But Veltar's eyes were alert and watching for Tejo's return. "I came back," Tejo said as he approached. "I told you I would." "Yes," the radio translated Veltar's musical response. "Small creatures, from your world, keep their promises." Tejo sat down next to Veltar's huge head and opened his bag. He showed Veltar the bottle of medicine. "This is what my people use when we have breathing sickness," he said. "It makes the swelling go down. It helps the body clear the airways." Veltar looked at the small bottle with interest. "It is very small. Small, but powerful. Medicine does not need to be big to work." Tejo opened the bottle and poured a small amount into a measuring cup. The liquid was thick and red, and it smelled like cherries and mint. "I do not know how your body processes things," Tejo said honestly. "This might help a lot, or a little, or not at all. I want to try a small amount first." Veltar made a sound. That might have been laughter. "I am dying slowly, friend Tejo. If this kills me quickly, it is not much worse." "Do not say that," Tejo said firmly. "You are not going to die. We are going to fix this." He held up the measuring cup. "How do you take liquids? Can you swallow like humans do?" Veltar opened that great mouth slightly. The inside was dark, but Tejo could see a throat that looked similar to Earth animals. "Yes, the same way you do, I think." Tejo moved very carefully. He poured the medicine into Veltar's mouth. The creature swallowed with a sound like water going down a drain. They waited. Tejo watched Veltar's breathing carefully. At first, nothing seemed to change. The wheezing continued. The breathing holes along the neck still moved in that labored way. "How long does your medicine take to work?" Veltar asked. "For humans, about 20 minutes, Tejo said. "But you are not human. It might be different." They waited longer. Teho found himself holding his breath every time Veltar breathed. He wanted so badly for this to work. After 30 minutes, something began to change. The wheezing sound became softer. Veltar's breathing seemed a little easier. I think... Yes, Veltar said, and there was surprise in the musical voice. The burning feeling is less. The air comes easier. Teho felt a rush of excitement. Really? You feel better? Yes, not completely well, but better. Veltar's eyes became brighter. Your small medicine is working. Over the next hour, the improvement continued. The swelling in Veltar's breathing holes went down visibly. The wheezing became quieter and then stopped completely. Veltar was able to lift that great head higher and hold it steady. This is remarkable, Veltar said. My people have advanced healing technology, but we have never seen medicine that works so quickly across species. Maybe life is not so different everywhere, Teho said. Maybe the basic problems are the same, even if we look different on the outside. You risked much to help me, Veltar said. You did not know if your medicine would work. You did not know if I was dangerous. Yet you came. Teho thought about this. I suppose I did take a risk. But you were suffering. When someone suffers, you try to help. That is what makes us human, I guess. What makes you human? Veltar repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. Yes, I begin to understand what kind of people you are. The storm was ending now. The clouds were breaking apart, and real sunlight was starting to come through. In the better light, Veltar's crystal scales were even more beautiful. They caught the sunlight and threw rainbow patterns everywhere. The medicine will continue working, Teho said. But you should rest. Let your body heal. Will you stay? Veltar asked. I have been alone since my ship was lost in the storm. It would be good to have company. Teho looked back toward his station, then at Veltar. His work could wait. His samples would be fine for a while longer. This was more important than anything he had ever done in his life. I will stay, he said. We can keep each other company while you get better. Veltar made that untranslatable sound again, the one that seemed like joy. Thank you, friend Teho. I think this is the beginning of something wonderful. Teho settled down next to the great creature as the storm finally ended and real sunshine began to warm the valley. He had given cough syrup to an alien dragon, and somehow, amazingly, it had worked. He wondered what would happen next. 3 days passed since Teho had given the medicine to Veltar. The storm was completely gone now, and the sky was clear and blue. But Veltar was still in the valley, and Teho was still with him. Teho had moved some of his supplies down to the valley. He brought a sleeping bag, food, water, and more medicine. He also brought some of his scientific equipment that still worked without electricity. Veltar was much better than before. The breathing was almost normal now. The swelling in the breathing holes was gone. But the great creature was still weak. The torn wings were healing slowly, and Veltar could not fly yet. Your medicine saved my life, Veltar said on the morning of the 3rd day. But I think there was more wrong with me than just the breathing sickness. Teho had been thinking the same thing. What kind of injuries did you have when you crashed? My ship was caught in the storm, Veltar explained. The lightning was not normal lightning. It had power that hurt my ship's systems. When the ship fell, I was thrown around inside. I think I hurt something internal. Teho nodded. This made sense. The breathing infection might have been just one problem among many, but it was the most urgent problem, the one that could have killed Veltar. Quickly. Are you feeling stronger today? Teho asked. Yes. Each day I feel more like myself. Your medicine did more than fix my breathing. It helped my whole body start healing properly. They had learned to communicate better over the 3 days. The I translation device worked most of the time now that the storm was over, but they also used gestures and drawings in the mud to share ideas. Tejo had learned that Veltar came from a planet called Andor, which was very far away. Veltar's people were explorers who traveled between stars, looking for new worlds and new kinds of life. "We have found many planets with life," Veltar had told him, "but most life is simple. Plants, small animals, things that swim in oceans. Intelligent life is very rare." "What do you do when you find intelligent life?" Tejo had asked. "We watch from far away. We study. We try to understand. But we do not make contact unless we are sure it is safe." "Safe for you or safe for them?" "Both. Contact between different kinds of intelligent life can be dangerous. It can cause fear, war, misunderstanding." Now, on the third day, Tejo was trying to fix his long-range radio. Some of the circuits had started working again after the storm ended. If he could get it fully working, he could contact the main human colony. As he worked on the radio, he wondered what he would tell them. How do you explain that you met an alien? How do you convince people that the alien is peaceful and friendly? Finally, the radio made a crackling sound, and he heard a familiar voice. "Research Station 7, this is Colony Base. Tejo, are you there? We have been trying to reach you for days." Tejo recognized the voice. It was Dr. Park So-jin, his research partner and closest friend on the planet. She worked at the main colony, coordinating research projects. "So-jin, yes, I am here. I am fine. The storm knocked out most of my equipment, but I am okay." "Thank goodness. We were worried. The storm was worse than anything we have seen on this planet. Are your samples safe?" Tejo looked over at Veltar, who was listening curiously to the conversation. "My samples are fine. But So-jin, I need to tell you something incredible. You will not believe it." "What happened?" Tejo took a deep breath. "I met someone not human, an intelligent alien." There was a long silence on the radio. Then So-jin's voice came back, very careful and skeptical. "Tejo, you have been alone for a long time. Sometimes isolation can make people see things." "No, So-jin, this is real. The alien is here with me right now. Its name is Veltar. It was hurt in the storm and I helped it." Another silence. Then, "Tejo, if this is real, this is the most important discovery in human history. But I need proof. Can you show me somehow?" Tejo looked at Veltar. "Can you speak to my friend? She needs to know you are real." Veltar moved closer to the radio. In the musical language, Veltar said, "Hello, friend of Tejo. I am Veltar of Andor. Your friend saved my life with kindness and medicine." The radio translated the words. So-jin's gasp was clearly audible. Oh my goodness, Tejo, this is actually happening." "Yes, and So-jin, I need your help. I gave Veltar some of grandmother's cough syrup and it worked. But I need to understand why. Can you research the biochemistry?" So-jin's voice became excited and professional at the same time. "Yes, absolutely. Send me all the details. What were the symptoms? What was the dosage? How did the patient respond?" For the next hour, Tejo and So-jin discussed the medical aspects of what had happened. So-jin asked detailed questions about Veltar's physiology and the effects of the medicine. Veltar patiently answered questions about how the healing felt from the inside. "This is remarkable," So-jin said finally. "It suggests that certain biological processes are universal. Inflammation, immune response, respiratory function, they might work similarly in all carbon-based life. What does this mean for the future?" Tejo asked. "It means we might be able to develop medical treatments that work across species. It means intelligent life might not be as alien as we thought." While they talked, Veltar was doing something interesting. The great creature had picked up a stick in its mouth and was drawing patterns in the mud. The patterns were complex and mathematical. "Veltar, what are you drawing?" "Star maps," Veltar said. I am showing the location of my home world. Also, the locations of other worlds where my people have found life. Teho looked at the patterns. Even without understanding the alien mathematics, he could see this was sophisticated science. Sojin, you need to see this. Veltar is drawing star maps, real, detailed maps of this part of the galaxy. Take pictures, Sojin said immediately. Document everything. This alien contact is going to change everything for humanity. As the day went on, Teho began to understand the bigger picture. Veltar was not just a lost traveler. Veltar was a scout for a peaceful but advanced civilization. The way humans treated Veltar would determine how that civilization saw humanity. Veltar, Teho said eventually. Your people will come looking. For you, right? Yes. When I do not report back, they will send a search ship. It may take time, but they will come. And when they do, what will you tell them about humans? Veltar looked at Teho with those deep blue eyes. I will tell them that humans are small in body, but large in spirit. I will tell them that when a human finds a stranger in pain, the human helps without asking for reward. Even though we are different species, especially because we are different species, anyone can help their own kind. It takes wisdom and courage to help the unknown. That night, as Teho lay in his sleeping bag next to the great creature, he realized his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a scientist studying plants and animals. He was the first human to make friends with an alien. Whatever happened next would ripple out across both their civilizations. Above them, the alien stars shone down, and somewhere among those stars, Veltar's people were searching for their lost scout. Soon, Teho thought he would meet them too. On the fourth day, Teho woke up to a sound he had never heard before. It was like music, but deeper and more complex than any human music. The sound filled the valley and seemed to make the air itself vibrate with joy. He opened his eyes and saw Veltar standing upright for the first time since the crash. The great creature's wings were spread wide, catching the morning sunlight. The crystal scales blazed with rainbow colors, brighter than Teho had ever seen them. Veltar, Teho sat up quickly. You are standing! Yes, friend Teho, I feel whole again. Veltar's voice through the translator was stronger and clearer than before. Your medicine did more than heal my breathing. It started a healing process throughout my body. Teho got out of his sleeping bag and walked around Veltar, looking carefully. The tears in the wing membranes were almost completely healed. The creature moved with grace and power that had been missing before. How do you feel about flying? Teho asked. I think I could fly short distances now, but I do not want to leave yet. Why not? Do you not want to find your people? Veltar folded the great wings and lowered that elegant head to look directly at Teho. I want to show you something first. A gift to thank you for saving my life. You do not need to give me anything. I helped because it was right to help. Yes, that is exactly why you deserve this gift. Veltar walked to the star maps drawn in the mud. Over the past few days, the drawings had become more and more complex. Now they covered most of the valley floor with intricate patterns. These are not just star maps, Veltar said. They are knowledge maps. They show things my people have learned about this planet that yours have not discovered yet. Teho looked at the patterns with new interest. What kind of things? Veltar began pointing to different sections with a wing tip. Here, underground water sources that could supply your colonies for 1,000 years. Here, mineral deposits that your people need for technology. Here, areas where the soil chemistry is perfect for growing earth plants. You learned all this just by flying over the planet? My people have been watching this world for many seasons. We have detailed surveys. We know where life flourishes and where it struggles. Tejo felt overwhelmed. This information could transform human settlement on Kepler 442c. It could solve problems that scientists had been working on for years. Why? Are you sharing this with me? Because you shared your medicine with me. Because you risked your safety for a stranger. Because your actions show that humans can be trusted with knowledge. Veltar began explaining the symbols in the star maps. Each pattern represented different types of information. Water sources, mineral deposits, weather patterns, areas where the soil was rich, places where dangerous predators lived. This section shows the migration routes of the large herbivores, Veltar said. If your people understand these routes, they can avoid conflicts with the animals. And this section? Volcanic activity. This planet has more underground thermal activity than your scientists realize. Some areas that look safe are actually dangerous. Tejo was frantically trying to memorize everything, but there was too much information. I need to record this somehow. I need to share it with other humans. Yes, that is what I hoped you would say. Veltar did something that amazed Tejo. The creature touched one of the crystal scales on its chest, and the scale began to glow with soft light. Then Veltar pressed the scale against a flat rock. When Veltar lifted the scale away, the rock had changed. The star map patterns were now etched into the stone surface, glowing with the same soft light. Biocrystalline data storage, Veltar explained. The information is now permanently recorded in a form your scientists can study. Tejo picked up the rock carefully. It was warm to the touch, and the glowing patterns seemed to pulse gently. This is incredible technology. It is one of the simpler gifts my people could share with yours. Share? You mean there might be more contact? Veltar's eyes became very serious. That depends on what happens when my people come to find me. They will evaluate whether humans are ready for contact with advanced civilizations. What do they look for? Wisdom, compassion, the ability to think beyond immediate self-interest, the courage to help others even when it is difficult or dangerous. Tejo understood. They are testing us through you. Not exactly testing, but observing. My experience here will influence their decision about whether to reveal themselves to humanity. The weight of responsibility settled on Tejo's shoulders. Everything he had done, everything he might do, could affect the future of both species. What will you tell them about humans? Veltar was quiet for a long moment, thinking. I will tell them about a small human who heard a cry for help in a dangerous storm and risked his life to answer it. I will tell them about medicine shared freely, with no thought of reward. I will tell them about companionship offered to a stranger from the stars. But I am just one person. Not all humans are like me. True. But the fact that your species can produce even one person like you suggests that your people have potential for great goodness. And the fact that you worry about whether you represent your species well suggests wisdom and humility. That afternoon, Tejo contacted Sojin again on the radio. He told her about Veltar's recovery and the star maps. Sojin was excited about the scientific implications, but she also understood the larger significance. Tejo, you realize this first contact situation could determine humanity's future relationship with advanced alien civilizations? Yes, Veltar has made that clear. What can we do to help? The colony administrators want to send a team out to meet Veltar officially. Tejo looked at his alien friend who was listening to the conversation. Veltar, what do you think? Should you meet more humans? I would like to meet your friend Sojin, Veltar said. She sounds wise and careful, but large groups might be overwhelming. First contact should be gentle, not intimidating. Sojin, Veltar says you can come, but keep the group small. Maybe just you and one administrator. Understood. We will be very careful. This is too important to rush. As evening approached, Veltar surprised Tejo again. The great creature began to sing. The the same musical sound that had woken Tae-ho that morning, but softer and more personal. "What is the song about?" Tae-ho asked. "It is a song of gratitude and friendship. In my culture, when someone saves your life, you sing their story so it will be remembered. You are singing about me?" "I am singing about a small healer who had a large heart. I am singing about the day that two very different kinds of life discovered they were not so different after all." Tae-ho felt tears in his eyes. He had started this experience as a lonely scientist on a distant planet. Now he was part of something that could change the galaxy. "Veltar, whatever happens with your people, I want you to know that meeting you has been the greatest honor of my life. And you, friend Tae-ho, have shown me that the universe is full of unexpected kindness. That is a gift beyond price." The alien stars appeared in the darkening sky. Both beings looked up and wondered what tomorrow would bring. Somewhere among those stars, Veltar's people were coming. Soon the real test would begin. 2 days later, the sky changed. Tae-ho was helping Veltar practice flying short distances when they both noticed it. High above the valley, something blocked out a small section of stars. It was not a cloud. It was perfectly round and moved. "With purpose, my people," Veltar said simply. "They have found me." The ship descended slowly and silently. It was beautiful in a way that human technology could never match. The hull seemed to be made of the same crystal material as Veltar's scales, and it glowed with soft, shifting colors. As the ship landed gently in the valley, Tae-ho felt nervous, for the first time since meeting Veltar. What if the other aliens did not like humans? What if they thought Tae-ho had done something wrong by interfering? "Do not worry, friend," Veltar said, sensing his fear. "You have nothing to fear from my people. I will make sure they understand what kind of person you are." A section of the ship's hull became transparent, and 3 figures emerged. They were clearly the same species as Veltar, but different in important ways. One was much larger than Veltar, with scales that were deep silver instead of rainbow crystal. The other 2 were smaller, with scales of gold and deep blue. The largest one approached first. When it spoke, the voice was like distant thunder, deep and powerful. The translator worked, but the words came slowly, as if the device was struggling. "With the complexity. Young Scout Veltar," the voice said. "We have searched many days for you. The storm traces led us here, but we feared you were lost." "Elder Namsu," Veltar replied with obvious respect. "I live because of the kindness of this small being called Tae-ho. He saved my life when I was dying." Elder Namsu turned those ancient wise eyes toward Tae-ho. The gaze was intense but not unfriendly. "So, this is the human who aided you." Tae-ho tried to stand straight and speak clearly. "Honored Elder, I only did what anyone should do when they find someone in need." "Anyone?" Namsu repeated the word, carefully. "In our travels across the stars, we have found that few beings risk themselves for strangers. Most species care only for their own kind. Humans are not perfect," Tae-ho said honestly. "Some are selfish or cruel, but many of us believe that intelligent life is precious, wherever it comes from." The other 2 aliens moved closer. The golden-scaled one spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "I am Healer Kun-woo. May I examine what you did for our scout?" "Of course," Tae-ho said. He showed the aliens the empty bottle of cough syrup and explained how he had given it to Veltar. Kun-woo studied the bottle with intense interest. Simple molecules, basic anti-inflammatory compounds, yet it worked across species barriers that our science said were impossible. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best," Tae-ho said. The blue-scaled alien, who had been silent, finally spoke. "I am Navigator Yunji. I have studied your species from orbit for many cycles. Most of your people fight among themselves. They compete for resources. They distrust differences. Why should we believe you represent the true nature of humanity? This was the question Tae-ho had been dreading. How could he answer for all of humanity? But Veltar spoke before Tae-ho could respond. Navigator Yunji, I have observed this human closely for many days. He shared his food when he had little. He slept on the ground to keep me company. He gave me medicine without knowing if it would work, risking his own supplies. When I offered him knowledge that could make him rich and famous, he worried only about sharing it with others. These are the actions of one individual, Yunji said, not proof of species-wide character. True, Veltar agreed. But consider this. Tae-ho did not know I was intelligent when he first helped me. He risked his life in a storm to help what he thought was just an injured animal. This suggests that humans have evolved compassion not just for their own kind, but for all life. Elder Namsu had been listening to this exchange with great attention. Now the ancient being moved closer to Tae-ho. Young human, what do you hope to gain from contact with our people? Tae-ho thought carefully before answering. I hope to learn. I hope to show that different kinds of life can be friends. I hope that both our peoples can become better by knowing each other. You do not seek our technology, our knowledge of the stars, our advanced weapons? Your knowledge, yes, if you are willing to share it, but technology and weapons... Tae-ho shook his head. Those things can be dangerous if people are not wise enough to use them well. Namsu made a sound that the translator could not interpret, but somehow Tae-ho knew it was approval. Veltar, the elder said, show us this knowledge you have shared. Veltar led them to the glowing stone with the star maps etched into its surface. Kunwu and Yunji examined it with wonder. This contains survey data worth centuries of research, Yunji said. Information that could transform human development on this world. And he gave it freely, Veltar said, asking nothing in return. Elder. Namsu was quiet for a long time, thinking. The others waited respectfully for the ancient being's decision. Finally, Namsu spoke. In our travels, we have made contact with 47 intelligent species. Most were too primitive for meaningful exchange. Others were too aggressive or too fearful. A few were advanced enough for limited contact, but none showed the combination of curiosity, courage, and compassion that this human has demonstrated. Tae-ho felt his heart beating faster. What does that mean? It means, Namsu said, that we will recommend to the Council of Elders that formal contact be established with humanity. You will not be alone among the stars much longer. The implications hit Tae-ho like a wave. Humanity would join a galactic community. Everything would change. But this contact must be handled carefully, Namsu continued. Too much change too quickly can destroy a civilization. We will work with your leaders to introduce our peoples gradually. And you, Tae-ho, Kunwu said, will be our first human friend. We would like you to serve as a liaison between our species. Me? But I am just a scientist. I study plants and animals. You are a being who shows kindness to strangers, Veltar said. You are someone who shares rather than hoards. You are exactly the kind of person both our species need leading this relationship. 6 months later, Tae-ho sat in his new office at the Interspecies Relations Center. The building had been constructed with both human and Andorian technology, creating something beautiful and functional that neither species could have made alone. On his desk was a small bottle of cough syrup, not the original one, but one just like it. So Jin had given it to him as a joke when he got his new job. In case you meet any other sick aliens, she had said. But Tae-ho kept it as a reminder. A reminder that the biggest changes in the universe sometimes start with the smallest acts of kindness. A reminder that when someone is suffering, you try to help, no matter how different they might be from you. Through his window, He could see human and Andorian children playing together in the center's garden. They had learned each other's games and created new ones that combined both cultures. Veltar visited often, now fully healed and serving as an ambassador like Tai-Ho. The great dragon had kept the promise to sing Tai-Ho's story, and it had become a popular song among the Andorians, the tale of the small healer with the large heart. "Do you ever regret it?" Veltar asked during one visit. "Your quiet life as a researcher is gone forever. Now you are responsible for the relationship between two civilizations." Tai-Ho looked out at the children playing and smiled. "No, I think this is what I was meant to do. Sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you need to be, even if you never planned to be there." "And sometimes," Veltar said, "the medicine that heals the body also heals the space between the stars." Outside, human and alien children laughed, together under an alien sun, and the future stretched ahead bright with possibility.